A recent Nanos poll suggests Canadians are feeling less safe on public transit, and it comes as the city of Toronto sees a spike in violence on the TTC. The survey found that about 60% of people are feeling less safe or somewhat less safe commuting compared to a year ago. That number is slightly higher, though, in Ontario compared to other provinces at 71%. And as a result of recent attacks, 58% of Canadians say they're being more or somewhat more cautious of their surroundings in urban settings compared to a year ago. Joining me now for more on this is Stuart Green, a spokesperson with the Toronto Transit Commission. Stuart, good to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Sure, my pleasure.
So what's your reaction to the poll and its findings? Would you agree that safety has gone down on the transit system in the past year?
Well, I would agree that perceptions of safety have changed in the last couple of weeks. I mean, I noticed that this survey was taken last week amidst a great amount of media coverage on this issue. Now, the TTC is very safe. We move millions of people every year without incident, but we don't take that for granted. So we absolutely understand why people are feeling that the way that they are through this survey. We do our own surveys as well. We take the pulse of the customer, and safety has become a much more significant issue in the last couple of months than it would have been, say, a year ago when people were more interested in things like on-time performance and their buses being there on time. So it's a very interesting shift in perception, and we understand why. So we've taken a number of steps to address safety concerns for both our employees and our customers as it relates to having additional staff, like TTC staff with high visibility vests. We've got additional special constables that we're bringing in this year. We're working with street outreach workers from the City of Toronto. The Toronto Police have announced that they are putting up to 80 constables into the system to help us with that the safety observations as well. So there are a number of things that we're doing from both a public safety and a compassion, because part of what we're seeing in the system is people who are in crisis, maybe underhoused, experience mental health or addiction challenges, are seeking shelter from the cold on public transit. And so we need to be compassionate in how we deal with those people as well.
And it is extremely cold today. It's been as of late in Toronto, so there are a lot of people there who, like you said, are unhoused. But one thing I did want to point out, Stuart, is that there has been a slew of crimes lately, violent attacks on TTC subways, at TTC subway stations, buses, on streetcars. And these are things that are making people worried. So what do you think is a reason for the increase in violent attacks?
Well, I mean, you're quite right. The number of high-profile incidents has gone up, and that is, of course, of concern. And that's why we're responding with the urgency that we've responded, working with the City of Toronto, working with police. As to why these incidents are occurring, we are a public transit agency. We are not criminologists. We're not experts in mental health, addiction, crisis counseling, and that's why it's so important that we get people who are experts in these fields in to help us. The addressing the root causes and why these things are happening is a much bigger conversation. We are happy to be at the table to have any conversations about transit safety. But in terms of why things are happening on the TTC or in Toronto or any city or transit system across Canada is experiencing this right now, those are questions that are better put to people who are experts in this field so that we can get to the root causes and address them and get these incidents down.
Just finally here, Stuart, what do you believe commuters can do to make sure that they are ensuring their own safety while they're traveling or commuting on public transit?
Yeah, so I mean, we have a number of safety features in place. All of our vehicles, all of our stations have numerous multiple cameras in each. We have emergency alarms on all of our vehicles. They're identified on the TTC with a very bright yellow strip that people will see. So they're available there. We've got employees. We've got emergency alarms emergency intercoms on the platforms at all of our subway stations. Of course, we've got operators and employees who are visible all throughout the system. And then, of course, we work very closely with people that are experts in this area, like Toronto Police, to prosecute when if and when something does happen. So one thing I would point out too, that even with some of these more high-profile incidents that we've seen here recently, they have been solved fairly quickly in terms of making arrests and bringing people to justice. So the system works when we need it to. Ideally, we don't want these things to happen in the first place, and that's really the objective here.
Okay, Stuart Green, spokesperson with the Toronto Transit Commission. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Lois.